cell phone. Just about every meeting, every other meeting, we'll have one to ring. And if yours happens to be that one tonight, if you'll go out in the corridor, answer it, then you can come back in and take your place again. I see some guests that we have, and I'm gonna miss some, but I'll ask you to introduce yourself. We have Dwayne Grice with Grice Connect. Dwayne, we're glad that you're here. And we have a bunch of young ladies in the back there with cameras, and I don't know who you are or what you're doing here, but we have a spokesman to introduce yourself.
Hey, we're students at Georgia Southern University, and we're in news reporting and writing too, so we're just doing a project for our class.
All right, well, thank you. Well, y'all chose the right university to come to. And Georgia Southern's the best around, in my opinion. I know there's other opinions too, like that other one upstate. And but seriously, we do appreciate your coming. Any other media that I missed? No? Then I'm going to ask Commissioner Rushing if he'll give the invocation and lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Y'all stand with us, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to start a little different today to let everybody know. Most people know that work for the county and everybody in the room. We lost a member, an employee last Wednesday. It's Jay Knox. That was Alexis's brother that her and Dink Butler and Robert Siemens run the transportation department out here. And last Wednesday morning on the way to work, he had an accident, and of course he passed away on account of it, and they buried him Friday. So I was going to give him a minute of silence, and then I'll say the invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I'd like to thank you for this day, and I'd like to thank you for all that you do for each and every one of us. Lord, I'd like to ask you to continue to watch over this country, this state, and this county. Lord, all our armed forces and public servants and everybody that keeps us safe and protected, just, Lord, protect them and watch over them. And Lord, as this springtime's here and the long days and children out and the farmers trying to plant their crops, give the farmers good weather to do their job, Lord, and to just, with everybody traveling, just be on our roads in the county to let everybody pass safely and just watch out for one another. Lord, I just like to thank you for everything you do for us. Just please be with this commission as we make decisions for this county, Lord. The main thing, just let everything we do be pleasing to you. These things I ask in Jesus' name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have Ms. Mincy White call the roll for the commissioners.
Okay. I, Venus Mincy White, present as clerk of the Board of Commissioners of Bulloch County, hereby call the roll for those on the governing body. All those present shall answer by saying aye. Chairman Roy Thompson.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Kurt Deal.
Aye.
Commissioner Ray Mosley.
Aye.
Commissioner Anthony Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Jappy Stringer.
Aye.
Commissioner Timmy Rushing.
Aye.
Commissioner Toby Connor.
Aye.
I've determined that we have all members of the Board of Commissioners present. Therefore, we have a quorum to conduct business for the good of the citizens of Bulloch County. I now yield the floor back to the chairman.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a presentation on our docket here, and Human Resources Director Cindy Mellett will lead us in this discussion.
Good evening. I'm Cindy Mallett, the HR Director. I wanted to come to you just briefly to introduce the presenter this evening. Most of you will remember that this time last year, we selected Mark III Employee Benefits as our new benefits broker. And at that time, they made some recommendations that were implemented and committed to using the 12 months that followed to study the remainder of our plan and to to evaluate that to determine what we needed to do going forward. So with that said, we have invited Mr. Mark Browder from Mark III Employee Benefits. He's going to give you an update on what's transpired since the last time he was here, as well as provide recommendations for the upcoming insurance year that begins July 1. So with that, Mark Browder.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So, as Cindy said, Ms. Mallett said, we went through several things this year. We've had some real successes. We want to talk a little bit about that and then talk about some recommendations for the 24-25 plan year. So, in 23-24, we are seeing a claim spike that's occurring, and this is high claimant driven. However, budgetarily, we're in a really good place. The plan is within budget, and for the upcoming renewal, we're in, I think, a really good location. The stop loss changes that we made and the stop loss contract that you have in place has helped to soften the blow of these high claimants. Pharmacy spend is down, and one of the contract changes we made last year was to change the terms of the contract, and the plan is really reaping the reward of that. You guys, I think, ended up with about $13,000 worth of pharmacy considerations, what are called rebates. For this year, you're going to be over $250,000, so it's a 20 time to the good contract, and that actually helps to reduce costs for the plan. So that's really positive. So going into the 23-24 plan year, there have been some processing concerns from membership, from the providers, the physician community, and the hospitals, and from county leadership about the way that the current administration of the claims and the network administration of the claims has occurred. Some of the complaints that we've had are lagged claim payment. Providers have reached out to the organization and to employees to express concerns, and then there's been balanced billing to the membership for the claims administration. So based on the member experience and concern about the participants in the plan, viewing the plan in a diminished light, we decided to bid the plan to make sure that the county was in the best place from a medical plan administration perspective. So the plan was shopped, sent the requests for quotes to all the payers that you see on this page. The respondents that we received were on slide 5. And we did an analysis on the network. We also did analysis on the overall value that each one of the administrators provided. There were presentations from the existing administrator, 90 Degrees, Cigna, and United Healthcare. In the end, Cigna provided the best value and is also was the best respondent to the RFP. Cigna is an outstanding administrator for medical claims. We work with a lot of clients that have Cigna as an administrator. They've got a very sophisticated claims paying system. Their platform is sophisticated. They also provide a lot of resources and are a proven employer partner. From a member experience and disease management perspective, they're an excellent vendor. They were the most competitive, and going into the 24-25 plan year, we're recommending Cigna as your medical plan administrator, and we think that this second year change will continue the positive trend that you've seen in your plan administration. Last year, it was on the pharmacy side and on the risk side, the stop loss side. For 24-25, I think that you'll find Cigna as an outstanding partner for your employees and an excellent administrator, and that's our recommendation for the medical and dental administration. Any questions of me?
Any questions, comments?
If the chairman will yield the floor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Browder. I merely wanted to say to the commissioners, we can affirm Mr. Browder's and Mark III's efforts. We participated in looking at getting a new TPA and network, and I wasn't involved in all of the interviews with the vendors, but I was involved with Cigna, And what they do is very, very robust. I think we're going to have a really good product, a lot of online services that are, I believe, will provide a lot of convenience and quality for the employees. So I was very impressed with that myself. I'm sure Ms. Steinman or Ms. Mallett could concur with that. But we would wholeheartedly support Mark III's recommendation. And with that, I'll leave the floor or yield the floor to the chairman. And I should say, I think we also realized it was a very cost-effective alternative as well, switching to Cigna.
You would like to say something?
Thank you, Mark and Mr. Couch. With that said, as we prepare for the renewal for the next plan year, we would respectfully request that you consider approval of the recommendation so that we can move forward to prepare for the upcoming plan year.
Okay.
And I'm happy to answer questions as well if you have any.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the change with Cigna.
Second.
Motion with a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Move forward. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the approval of the zoning agenda. And there's no questions, and I need a motion to approve the zoning agenda. So moved, Mr. Chairman. Motion second, discussion. All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. The zoning agenda is now approved. And, James?
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item tonight is a conditional use request by Mr. Brian Reddick, who has submitted an application to allow a facility to host private and public functions on the property located at 10143 Highway 80 East. This property is approximately 15 acres and is shown here on the map. Approximate location is located where the star is, between Stilson and Brooklet on Highway 80. This is the current zoning map of the property and the surrounding parcels. As you can see, it is a Ag 5 property with surrounding like uses, agricultural uses, but there are some highway commercial and light industrial properties nearby. But the access to the property is, it is sufficient. There is an access easement that the owner has, the ability to use. This is the site plan that was provided by the applicant, in which there would be some modification if this were approved by the commission for the site plan to follow those conditions that are recommended by staff. And I think the applicant was okay with that at the
Yes.
Planning and Zoning Commission, as he was made aware of it. And again, this is the access to the property along Highway 80. So I'll go back to the site plan for your reference, but
Okay.
But staff recommends approval of the conditional use request, and Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by 3-0 vote. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Reddick, who is applicant owner of the property.
How y'all doing today? My name's Scott Reddick, and I own the property over here at 10143 Highway 80. We're going to be building a wedding venue, an event venue for people to have. It's going to be like a barn dominium, as well as the home is gonna be a barn dominium. They're gonna match, look, real nice. It's gonna be high-end, barn dominium, wedding venue. So that's what we're planning on doing. Anything that we need to, I know they had said something about the parking spot, you know, we would come off the property line, whatever the easements and everything needs to be, that's what we'll do for the county.
No one signed up.
No, sir.
No one signed up to speak against. The commissioners have any questions?
You plan on living there also?
Yes, sir, I plan on living there and managing the property, yes, sir, at the same time.
Anything else? And I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve this zoning notice.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any more discussion?
With the conditions.
Conditions.
Agreed?
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, let's see. Item 2 tonight is a conditional use request by Mr. Rayburn Anderson, who's requesting to locate a 195-foot tower to be used as a communications equipment, otherwise a cell tower. The property is located on Jim Waters Road, and Ms. Wendy Dole will be acting as agent. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use request, and Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval by 6-0 vote.
Before you start, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Is the clock working?
Yes, sir, the clock is working. I'll, if you will, I'll just have a few pictures to show of the photo renderings of the tower, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Dole.
Okay.
So just for reference, this is the parcel. It's located just north of I-16, just to the east of Sinkhole Road. Again, Jim Waters Road would be the access to the property. As part of the process, the zoning process, my department requires, or the ordinance requires, that some photo renderings of the potential cell tower be generated by the applicant. And so these 3 locations are going to be the photo key of what I'm going to show you here. Visual impact is a concern with cell towers, just in general in the planning sense, but this is the only real visual visual of the cell tower in nearby properties. And so that was really what it amounts to, is there's not really any visual impact from the cell tower. And then this is the property as it's used today. And again, there would just be the tower there in the middle of the property. And let's see, Miss Wendy, I'll get to your presentation. Here we go.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. I'll be brief. My name is Wendy Doyle, and I'm representing Verizon Wireless and Mr. Anderson this evening. Several years ago, Verizon was notified by several agencies and mostly customers who said, I don't have service when I get off the interstate. I'm traveling on the interstate. I'm trying to get in south part of Bulloch County, my phone drops. So they identified some of their existing towers, and sure enough, they discovered that there was a hole in their coverage. And if you want to go ahead, Mr. Pope, I'll let you pull that up. It's on a number, there we go. Right there, if you'll take a look at the slide that's in front of you, in the very center of this picture, it's all red. And in an engineering's mind and in the engineering map here, that's where it's represented our worst coverage. If you look around and you see the green areas, those are where existing cell towers are in your county. And Verizon's utilizing those towers right now at this time. But if you look, you can see that it just kind of, there's a hole there where there's red. And so Verizon is simply proposing to place a tower in the middle of that area, if you'll go to the next slide. And as you can see, with that proposed tower, all of a sudden, all of that red becomes green and yellow. And there is no longer that large emptiness of coverage in that area. A lot of times with cell towers, you can either need them for capacity or coverage issues. This one will serve both, because actually out there right now, it's hard to keep a call. It's hard to use your phones for your technology reasons and things such as that. So hopefully with this tower, we are, if you choose to approve it, we are hoping that you will be able to continue and use your smart devices for everything, for streaming, for calls, for texting, and purposes such as that. As Mr. Pope stated, we do meet all the FAA, FCC regulations. We do meet all of your ordinance requirements with setbacks. The tower will be located in such of the property that the smallest setback is 798 feet. The largest setback distance from a property line is over 1,000 feet. So we have located this as strategically in the middle of the property as we can. And it's also going to be below 200 feet, therefore it will not have to be lit. So there won't be the lights that you normally see from larger cell towers in the area. I could tell you more, but honestly, that's really what we're trying to do, is just to provide coverage in the south part of the town where there is none. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. I know we're under time.
Thank you. Any questions? That's for a motion.
I make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion, second, discussion. None, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Agenda item 3 tonight is a request by Eagle Creek Construction, who has submitted an application to rezone approximately 42 acres from Ag 5, agricultural 5 acres, to an R40 residential 40,000 square foot lot zoning for the purpose of allowing a single-family residential neighborhood to be developed. The property is located at 6417 Arcola Road. And this is the property as located just north of Mud Road. This is the area zoning. Again, this property and surrounding properties are currently zoned Ag 5. And access would be onto Arcola Road. And this is the site plan that was provided by the applicant. And the approximate location of where an entrance into the subdivision would be located. And with that said, staff recommended a denial of the rezone request, but staff conditions were also recommended if approved. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended a denial by 6-0 vote. So, and with that, Mr. John Dotson is here on behalf of the applicant.
Thank you, Mr. Pope and Commissioners. I came prepared to present this to your consideration tonight, but as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, I received a call from the developer asking that this rezone be withdrawn. It's past the deadline that we have to adhere to in the zoning manual, so I had to ask the Board of Commissioners to allow us to withdraw it. Ask for your consideration.
All right. One question, and I'm going to ask the county attorney. We've got 2 people signed up opposed. The request for this is to withdraw. And just clarification, if they allow to withdraw it, then do we need to hear from these citizens?
Well, if you grant the request to withdraw, then I don't think there's any necessity to I mean, you can allow them to speak if you want to, but I don't really see what the point would be if you're not going to consider the request. Might ask Mr. Dotson, does he intend to bring this back at some point, or do you know?
At this point, Mr. Akins, I don't know.
Then I'm going to ask the commissioners, do you have any questions or comments?
Ain't this the second time this has been pulled off the table? You know, we got to get down. We can't keep doing this. We got too much stuff to do.
You could go ahead and hear it tonight and vote to deny it, or approve it for that matter. In other words, the withdrawal, as John pointed out, he doesn't have the right to withdraw it. As a matter of right, you have to approve the withdrawal. So there are several options you could pursue.
Well, I think we ought to honor his request first, and then if it's, well, let's see what the commissioners say. No further request to withdraw this item. We're going to open it up for discussion and then call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarification, the Commissioner Connor, we actually denied the first time, so
And then it got withdrew. Last time it was in, I've been withdrew second.
I'm not sure.
Or it got pulled off the table, right? Am I wrong there? Waited 4 weeks.
I think this would be the second time that it's been withdrawn. But it was denied the first time for an R-25 2-3 years ago.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion that we honor this request and.
Yeah, I'll second it and let's move on.
We have a motion, we have a second to honor the request. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all of those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous, now.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, agenda item 4 tonight is a rezone request by Star Equity Development LLC, who has submitted to rezone an R25 parcel to an R15, 15,000 square foot lot to allow development of a single-family residential neighborhood. The parcel is approximately 32 acres, and it's located along Youngblood Road. And Don Marsh will be acting as agent. And Planning and Zoning Commission recommends a denial by 6-0 vote. And staff recommends approval of the rezone request with 2 conditions as part of the rezone. Let's see. This property is located again on Youngblood Road, which is just north of Highway 80 to the east of Statesboro. This is a zoning map of the parcel. As you see, there are R40 parcels just to the north and surrounding this parcel to the south and east are R25 zoning. And the R15 zoning would allow approximately 8 lots in addition to what's allowed currently as an R25 subdivision. And this is the site plan that was, the new site plan that was proposed by the applicant, in which it displays the 57 lots for development. Currently, as this development sits, a little bit of history on it. It was previously approved as an R25 subdivision several years prior to this, and they went through to the final plat stage, and the soils, due to the way it was developed, the soils were not suitable for septic tanks and health department approval. And so, as you can see, the roads were in, some of the other infrastructure was in, and so it's been sitting vacant until a solution was developed since, I believe, 2019 or 2020. And so the developer's plan, which I won't get into, I'll let the developer or the agent talk about that, but they can develop in an R15 zoning with a community septic system, which would have to, or their plan is to pump the sewage to a community system just up Youngblood Road. And so that's how we arrive at the R15 zoning. But again, the infrastructure is in and could be developed as R25 subdivision under a community septic system as well. That was a question that came up in planning and zoning. So it could be developed under either zoning with a community septic system. So, but with that, I've talked too much, but I'll turn it over to Don Marsh, who is agent for the applicant.
Thank you, James. I'm Don Marsh. I'm representing Star Equities. Mr. Ron Sluter is here. He's the owner or their representative. Mr. Pope did a real good job of explaining exactly what's happening. This piece of property was originally zoned R25, rezoned R25. Actually, we had a 10% bonus density in order to reduce lot size from 25,000 to 22,500 square feet. Had 47 lots designed, surveyed, laid out, streets built, curb and gutter in. Sidewalks will go in as they develop the houses. During construction, some topsoil got moved, simple as that. Health department, the engineering department, the county engineering department approved the streets and the drainage. All of that is exactly as it stays exactly the same. When we couldn't put septic tanks, obviously the only recourse we had was to do a community system. Lindsey Martin, who is here, owns MSO water systems, and he has an existing community system. It's about 1,800 foot up the road, and the owners of this property bought 15 acres adjacent to that system. Had an engineer from Goose Creek Engineering. They also have a representative here that can answer any questions that I'm certainly not capable of doing. But that system was designed to go there. In doing so, we were able to, if we go to R15, basically our lot sizes, our lot depths pretty much stay the same because of the way the roads are laid out. We can't change that. But with R15, we can reduce lot frontage, and doing so, we were able to we went from 47 lots to 57 lots. So that's what the R15 does for us. Most of these lots are a good bit over 15,000 square feet, but again, we're sort of bound by the roads that are there. Both of these gentlemen are here to answer any technical questions as far as the sewage or the water. And I'll be happy to answer any questions I can.
All right, thank you. Let's stop the clock just a second. I need to explain something because we have a lot of new people out here tonight. Is that each side receives 10 minutes of the whether it be an attorney, whether it be a surveyor, or whomever is speaking or taking the lead. So you can see we have 7 minutes and 17 seconds left. And if anybody else, we have 2 signed up for, in addition to the presenter. And if they want to speak, how much time they speak and have left, then they can use that time for rebuttal. And if they do not want to speak, then there'll still be time for rebuttal if the surveyor wants to speak. So we have 3 signed up in opposition. Those 3 will have 10 minutes totally. One person can speak or all 3, but at the end of 10 minutes, then the discussion would be over for either side. So if anyone that's signed up that's for, if you would like to speak, you certainly can at present time.
Can we yield until answer a rebuttal?
Yes, yes. We're going to yield that time to rebuttal time. So now we're going to call out the 3 that are opposed, and Ms. White will do that for us.
Okay. Diane Kingery.
Good evening. I'm Diane Kingery. I live in Hamilton subdivision directly across from where Youngblood is being developed. And I originally was concerned about this matter because of my personal experience with an engineered septic system. And I didn't know about the community septic system yet. And I provided you with some of my argument. I think you've all got pieces of my notes. I'm still concerned about this rezoning to R15 though, because a piece of property that directly adjoins this property. If this is zoned R15, it will be the only one in this immediate area. But if this gets zoned R15, then we've got a piece of property right next door that's owned by Mr. Robert Bell that I'm afraid will try to develop, and they'll want to request an R15. And I don't see that that's good for my value of my home, good for the traffic on Youngblood, and good for water runoff, et cetera. I would like to respectfully request that you follow the zoning and planning board and deny this request for R25 to R15. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Dustin Guilfoyle.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm going to echo the remarks from Ms. Kingery in asking for you guys to deny the rezoning request until we get a chance to look at how that community septic's going to work. I believe it was mentioned that it was 1,850 feet up the road, but I believe it's 1,850 yards that is being pumped up the road, which is quite a distance. And if I could yield my time to Mr. McCoy, who lives in the adjoining neighborhood. He just had surgery, so he couldn't sign up. Is that okay with you guys?
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I'm Fred McCoy, and I live in one of the 5 subdivisions where they plan to build this sewage disposal. It's not 1,800 feet, as my predecessor said. It's over a mile down there. And it's all in the middle of upscale subdivisions, above average homes. And when they will speak to you and tell you that it's all been engineered and they've all had the engineers do it, and we will all vote to have their sewage pumped to the engineer's home and dispose of it there, and we'll all sign to do that. I thank you for your time. We don't need an additional number of housing down there. They can accommodate what they've got. The ground just won't support it. So we ask you to deny the request for 15 and stay with 25. And we ask that you take some pictures and present it up here of where they intend to dispose of their sewage. Thank you, sirs and madam.
It's Justin Randall.
I got nothing to add to the prior three, so I'll.
Okay. Lindsay Martin or Alvin Williams.
All right.
Lindsay Martin.
Good afternoon. I'm here to answer any questions that the county commissioners or anybody in the county would like to ask. It's less than 2,000 feet up there. That's a long way, 18 football, 18 yards or whatever. And it has been engineered and it has been approved by the EPD already. And they have their own engineers, we have our own engineers with it. But I'd like to see if any of the commissioners have any questions.
Is there an existing system there?
Yes, sir, there is.
And it's working,
Yes,
it's working off of another subdivision?
yes, sir. And they have bought 15 acres next door, and there will be clearing, and then there'll be sand brought in, and then it'll all have to be inspected by the EPD and inspected by the engineers before we could use it. It's the same thing as the city of Statesboro or city of Savannah, same test, same everything. We have them probably 6 places in Bulloch County.
Is there any problem with the way they work, or is there?
No. But there's, hadn't been a problem yet.
Mr. Bart, this one just like at Talon's Lake, right? Right
Yeah.
on the corner of Talon's Lake and Burkhalter Road.
Yes, sir, we put that in a long time ago. That was for the, I can't remember the name of that.
Wasn't that the Talon's Lake Apartments there or what it was?
It was a different subdivision, and I'm sorry, I used to own it, and I don't even know the name of
That's
it,
right.
and I apologize. But it's that little community right there on the corner, and then, Mr. Henley has all of Planters Row on his, and then the one across street's on his, and then Ashford's on theirs, and there's a few more of them around.
And it has been stamped and approved by the EPD.
Yes, sir. And it was just inspected about 3 weeks ago. And the only thing they found was a little bit of cement around the well over there. And she came and inspected it. I put the cement around the well. She sent me a compliance letter. That was the only thing. See, they have test wells. What a lot of people don't understand, there's test wells. This property has 4 test wells. It tests the groundwater to make sure that the sewage is not getting in the groundwater. All these tests are sent to a private lab, then it's sent to the results are sent to the state. That one's got 4. When I put Ashford in, it only had 1. So they've really stepped their game up a little bit on that, these test wells. He's already drilled, I think, 4 test wells, 4.
And
on his property.
the EPD tests you how often?
Every month.
Every month, just like you
And
want.
then every 6 months, you have to send a series in of different tests. It's about that long. And it's a lot of things. And they test the well every month. You have to take a sample out of that well every month.
So it's
Each
going.
well, it'd be 4 wells, each well.
It's going there either way. It don't matter if it's R25, R15, it's going.
Going there. It's already approved.
Does this subdivision have a well for that subdivision, or is it gonna be supplied from another well that's already there?
The water's already in and stamped by the engineers over there. We put the water in for the existing subdivision. Well, we'll have to move it around a little bit and get, permission from the state for 9 more lots. Which I have capacity already.
So that subdivision already has a well? what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's right across the street.
So it's supplying another subdivision too.
Supplying two subdivisions, two big wells, over 2 6-inch wells. And we have all the approvals on that too.
What's the chances of getting it to R25?
What's the chances of what?
Getting it back to R25 like the rest of the properties in front of it? You know, can we make it work?
Well, next door,
I know everybody's trying to get,
Yeah, I know.
we going through budgets too. Everybody's trying to get everything
Well, I
they can out of
understand
everybody, but
I heard Mr. James say something about the zoning around it. And if you look out the right side of that subdivision, which is across the street from some of the people that's talked to them, there's 30, 40 something duplexes over there. They can't be R25. They gotta be R15. Nobody mentioned that though. That hadn't been mentioned at all. If you come out of the driveway and you look to the right there, and there's 30, 40, I'm guessing, front doors over there, duplexes. That can't be R25. I'm gonna yield if y'all have any more questions.
R15 get sidewalks and all.
Correct. On his zoning, he didn't have to have sidewalks or curb and gutter, I think. But he's opted to put the sidewalks in and the curb and gutter.
Thank you.
But to answer your question, Mr. Connery, it's almost $1 million he's spending.
know that. I'm with you. I'm just saying that we can work it out.
He's just curving the blow a little bit. Thank you.
Will the chairman yield?
Yes.
Yes. If you don't mind, Mr. Martin, I just have one question. Is what's being done to transfer or convey the wastewater to the permitted area that you have? Do you have to submit another DDR or an updated DDR to EPD?
Yes, it's all been, it's submitted and the engineers have got it and we got approval back. It's a land application system.
Okay.
And we already got do you have the paperwork there? We have the approval.
But it's probably still less than 150 GPD?
I would think.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's probably pretty close. I don't have the numbers. Hey, this is the engineer that he hired, and I'm sorry, I don't know his name because I just met him tonight.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'm Adam Wilkinson with Goose Creek. Sorry about the headband, had some surgery, so I got to keep it on for a bit. So we did it for 57 homes at 4 bedrooms. This is all kind of based on gallons per day. So it is 150 gallons per day per bedroom for 4 bedrooms for a total of 34,200. And actually, that has a minimum linear footage, and we put in like over 1,000 foot of extra linear footage just to make sure it all worked correctly. In general, this system, I think there's a little bit of misconceptions about it. It works just like your septic system at your house. It's if you ever have to pump it, that's what happens. Treated at the house by septic tanks at the house, pumped by grinder stations at the house, community force main into a massive drain field. It's pretty much what it is. There's valves and there's timing and there's flow meters that transfer and cut off different zones so that we treat certain zones with the loaded rate that we're applied for. The process was pretty lengthy, but we finally got the final NOI yesterday, so 100% approved to construct whenever with, is that my time?
We appreciate your.
Well,
Yep.
just a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Ought to be a yes or no.
Yes, sir.
Is there any pre-treatment involved?
Yes, sir. So that's what the septic tanks are at the house. You can do it different ways, but individual septic systems pre-treat it. So it's nothing but brown water going to the land.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. No problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, anyone on the other side, rebuttal time, you got 6 minutes and 19 seconds left. If you would like to approach this mic.
I don't know that anybody has gone out and seen what a sewage community septic system drain field looks like. It's a bare field that they have to let the grass grow to a certain length because you can't have bare ground. And that's at the entrance to a subdivision, and now they've got 15 more acres. They're going to haul dirt and get rid of all the trees and roots and everything. Haul in a bunch of dirt and put in another field with knee-high grass and pipes sticking out of the ground. So it looks like you're in a third world country somewhere. And I also am a little bit concerned that we're more concerned about the money that a developer is going to lose over the money, the loss of value in my home. Just because my home's not worth over $1 million doesn't mean that shouldn't be a consideration. And I just don't think we need to increase the density of the homes around there. I mean, I know that that drain field is a done deal. That ship has sailed and there's nothing I can do about it. But I would like to see that we don't increase the density. I'm sorry if he's lost some money, but I'm probably going to lose money. Please consider that.
Anyone else on that side would like to say anything else? We're trying to be fair with the time.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Justin Randall, and I live in the Ashford subdivision, and it seems like this hearing has gotten totally distracted by the discussion about the sewage field, which isn't going to change, whether it's R15 or R25. It's there, it's going to be there, and that's not going to change. That's gone. The question, from my perspective as a homeowner in the area, is this creeping in of moving from R40 and R25 to R15, which is one of the earlier speakers already mentioned. There's another lot right next to it owned by a developer, the developer who built our subdivision, and undoubtedly at some point he's going to want to build on there also. And it just seems like allowing an R15 in this one is then going to make it easier to have an R15 in that next lot. And now we're changing the demographic, we're changing the whole feel of that whole area. And that's primarily what I object to. I'd like to see this stay, that whole area looking like it does now and feeling like it does now, with home and lots similar to what's there now, than this somewhat drastic change. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Mr. Pope. If this would be the time, sir.
Yes. Well, let me ask a question. Okay, there's still 3 minutes and 50 seconds of rebuttal. And what we'll do, we will leave that on, but now I'm going to allow Commissioner to ask a question, please.
Mr. Pope, is there any, or are there any R15 in this area? Is it all R25?
There is some R2, which would be duplex, just to the south, which borders the highway commercial zone along Highway 80, as you can see on the map, down Amanda Road. At Youngblood Road, where it intersects Highway 80, if you go just around the corner down Burkhalter, there was a planned unit development that was approved a month or so ago that would have duplex and townhomes and single-family homes on about 6,000 square foot lots. So this area is an area that its proximity to Statesboro is going to be a changing area over time, where the introduction of sewer into the area along Burkhalter is going to most definitely change the request coming into that area. And the comprehensive plan future land use map would suggest that that zoning would be acceptable in the greater suburban neighborhood character area. We just typically don't see this many, or see many R15 requests, because in the county, without sewer service, And the EPD systems are so expensive and time-consuming to develop. I think it's the reason why you don't see many of them, but, the additional 8 or 10 homes, staff felt like, the reality of how it would develop would not change the character drastically, really no more than what sewer introduction down the road would. So that's how staff kind of views it. But
Thank you.
But it is allowed in the growth map.
Mr. Chairman, can I
correct.
say something?
Yes, sir.
All right. I just want to confirm this with Mr. Pope. I don't think duplexes they wouldn't be allowed in R15, would they? It would just be single family.
So for that point of clarification, I was referring to an R2 zoning just to the south, but that would be.
Right, and I didn't say that you said there would be duplexes, but I thought maybe I got the impression that some of the people that spoke thought there might be duplexes, but I mean, basically it'd just be smaller lots, but it'd still be single family.
That's correct. It'll be single-family homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1,800 square foot house.
I misspoke on that. I said R15, it's R2s. I said that. I misspoke on it. It's R2 with the duplex.
Okay, we'll get back on track now. We've got, is there anything from your side that you would like to add?
If you go to smaller, inexpensive homes, you depreciate our homes and our subdivisions that are already there. That's what you're doing. You're saying you can go in and build little smaller houses, cheaper houses, and it will greatly depreciate those of us who are already in established subdivisions and homes. Thank you.
All right, I think we've given everybody ample opportunity to speak, so we'll clear the time. And we're gonna ask the commissioners, do you have any questions from either side or just questions in general? Then hearing none, I'm gonna call for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve the request to move from R25 to R15 with conditions.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. Three. All opposed, show of hands. Ends up in a tie, 3-3. This will be the second time in at least 8 years that I've had to break a tie. I will have a question, just to reiterate. You do have EPD approval.
Yes. Yes.
And there are duplexes close by.
No.
There are duplexes right across the street of this project.
Take a look at the zoning map and show where they are.
Half the project is on that Amanda Road.
400 or 500 feet from the big lake.
All right, we're gonna stop the discussion in between each of y'all. I'm trying to think for myself. And, all the other homes will be R25 except for 8 additional homes or
10.
10?
Same home, same building.
Can I say something, please?
No, sir. James, the approval from staff was what? Or the recommendation?
We recommend approval with a few conditions.
Okay. You know, regardless, this is a no-win situation, for one side, but I will accept the staff approval because I feel like I'm bound to do that. And, so I will break the tie with an approval, so the motion will be approved for a 4-3 vote. I need to do anything else, Jeff, clarification wise? No, sir. All right. Thank y'all very much, and we will move on to number 5.
You want me to go and start, or wait till I get out?
Let's let them clear first.
All right, so I'll go and start on this one. Commissioners, agenda item 5 tonight is brought to you by the Planning and Development Department, which we are proposing. We don't necessarily need a vote on this item tonight, bringing to you the future development map in its draft form for input and consideration. We do plan to bring the draft comprehensive plan update, which would be the Smart Bulloch 2045. So we're adding 5 years to the previous version. But the comprehensive plan has, we've gone through the process beginning back in November. And so on April 16th, we'll bring to you the proposed draft plan for approval by the Board of Commissioners. Then we'll submit the plan to the Department of Community Affairs. And once that is approved, they check all the standards and make sure we, met all their requirements and the minimum planning standards. We'll bring the final plan for adoption to you in June. So the reason I'm here tonight for this item is that this is to ask for a public hearing, just, to let the public be aware of the proposed future development map and the land use portion of the plan. Felt like it was, we know it's crucial to have any public input that we can on these items. And so we submitted the agenda item through Planning and Zoning Commission and got their blessing on it. They, recommend approval for the land use element of the plan. And so what I want to share is throughout this process, beginning back in November and maybe a little bit before that, we had a little bit of press coverage for it. But the comprehensive plan update process is every 5 years. So we knew, going into this year, we'd undertake this process, and it is somewhat time consuming and requires a lot of effort from staff and others. But we held several public hearings in front of you all, public input sessions here in this room, down in Brooklet, in coordination with the transportation plan. We had an online survey available really up till probably a few weeks ago, but the data that was considered in for that survey, we had about 330 responses, which was a little bit lower than what I'd hoped, but we do the best we can. But through that survey and some other public input and input from the municipalities and the steering committee that we had for the comp plan update, so we arrive at this land use portion of the plan. By and large, and I realize those in the audience, and it's in your staff report, but those in the audience may not be able to read every fine detail, but really the basic of it is that we're suggesting we add 2 character areas to the future development map. One would be the Georgia Highway 67 and Interstate Commerce Node, which would be a character area of itself, and then the Black Creek character area and Interstate 16 node. And I'll try to explain that a little bit. The staff report has the narrative version of those character areas and what that means. We added these 2 sheets to the land use element, and is suggesting types of development within that character area, future policies that we may look at in the future using overlay zoning to where we get a little more into the details of how to develop and protect items like your wetlands, but also have the density that we think in the next 20 years we would have some pressure, or not pressure, but desire to develop in these areas, and we believe that this is a fairly good compromise in between growth pressures and then what our agricultural community and heritage, how do we protect that? It's a kind of a tough thing to do in a growing community that it's easier to develop something that's already cleared. But what we want to do is, through this map, and it looks very similar to what we had previously, is that in the southeast Bulloch area, have what we would call conservation style subdivisions, where you may see some of these community septic systems develop, and using those temporarily until sewer is available at some point in the future, whether that's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, but something that you could decommission as sewer develops out. But placing the wetlands not on individual or parcel owners, but turning those wetlands over to an HOA where they can remain protected, basically, as long as the we would say in however long forever is. But so kind of that style of development is what we would be proposing in that kind of magenta area. And then having some higher density development along the interstate interchanges. And that would be where we would, until water and sewer were available, the higher density stuff would either be on community septic systems or just not really be available until that time, whenever that would be. But this would lay out future growth for 20 years. And then along Highway 67, we talked about and are suggesting that having a growth area along 67 and more or less a narrow corridor that utilizes frontage roads at the intersections along 67 and having an increased vegetative buffer on any parcels that abut Highway 67. So that would keep Highway 67 a natural or scenic corridor appearance, but also be able to develop out as we move forward. And because as development occurs, is the four-way or the four-lane highway there. I think it's just going to be a natural draw for development, and I think if we plan it right, we can maintain the character with a vegetative buffer and some other items, and keep the traffic and transportation utilization for Highway 67 to we can have both types of land uses and oriented traffic towards Statesboro and have a nice frontage or entryway into the city of Statesboro. But the other items that these character areas mention are overlay zoning. So we would expect that over the next couple of years, staff would move to develop specific overlay zoning like we have on 301 and 16, to where we can go ahead and outline those future interchanges or intersections where we would expect higher development, higher density development. And those, what we call planning nodes, those are outlined on this map. So those areas that are kind of highlighted in red and purple, that's where we're suggesting that higher density would be. And then, I guess transitional zoning as you move north and south along 67. So again, I'm not here to ask for a vote on this item, just for your consideration and a public hearing. So if y'all have any questions for me, please let me know.
Questions?
If the chairman will yield.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I'm assuming the plan committee has built a consensus around this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's all the questions I have, sir.
Thank you for the presentation. We'll move next to the general agenda. And before entertaining a motion to approve the general agenda, do we have any other discussion or modifications desired by the county manager or the board?
The county manager has none this evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Hearing none from the board, then I need a motion to approve the general agenda.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question real quick?
Yes, sir.
Did anybody sign up to speak on the
No, they did not.
land use plan? Okay,
They did not.
just wanted to make sure about that. All right.
Need a motion? So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion second, discussion. None, all those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you. I'm compelled to read the consent agenda. We have 10 items on it. And if you'll bear with me just for the time it takes. Number one, approve the minutes from the March 19th, 2024 Board of Commissioners meeting. 2, approve a splash pad resurfacing project, Splash in the Borough Water Park, in the amount of $122,185.80 with Robertson Industries, Inc. Approve a repair order for the courthouse elevator by Vertical Lift Systems of Statesboro in the amount of $95,450. Approve the purchase of an ambulance chassis remount from Custom Trucking Body Works in the amount of $132,777. Approve the purchase of a replacement door on hangar number 3 at Statesboro Bulloch County Airport from Hawk Construction in the amount of $36,760. Approve the nominations of Brandon Smith, Gary Michael, and Dr. Brian Deloach to serve on the Hospital Authority of Bulloch County. 7, approve entering into negotiations with the most qualified responsive firm for right-of-way acquisition services for S&S Greenway Phase 3. 8, approve a contract with RA Realty LLC in the amount of $30,420 for valuation appraisal services for S&S Greenway Phase 3 to be funded by TAP Grant and T-Splus. 9, approve the purchase of an industrial mixer for the Bulloch County Correctional Institute from Trimark in the amount of $26,578. 10, approve an agreement with Skillet Kitchens LLC to provide food service at the Bulloch County Correctional Institute and Bulloch County Jail facilities. We can vote on these collectively, or if there's anything that you want to move under to new business, now is the time to do that.
Motion to vote on these collectively, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second to vote on these collectively. Any discussion?
Mr. Tom, number 8, that is 100% funded? Oh, he's stepped out, my bad. Yeah, he's right there.
He's over there.
Okay. The 80% funded.
I think it's been 80 for the whole course of the test, right?
We have a motion, second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Unanimous approval. Thank you very much. We're going to next move into new business. County Manager Tom Couch and Planning Development Director James Pope is going to make a presentation on housing market.
Good evening. First, let me thank Commissioner Rushing for the fine homage he paid to Mr. Knox at the beginning of the meeting. We're all deeply saddened by his departure, and I guess in a way I had a privilege of going to his funeral, which to me is sometimes a celebration of life as well. And it was one of the more challenging funerals for me. It was tough to watch the family grieve, but they've got a good, solid family, and with the grace of God, I know they'll recover. And hopefully, everybody in Public Works and all of Jay's coworkers will too. He was a really special guy. I learned things about him at the funeral that I didn't know, and it was very, very edifying to me. Okay, so given the time, and this is probably the next to last item, and I know everybody's getting hangry, but I wanted to just bring this particular study into the new business category. And Chairman Thompson will probably recall that discussions about workforce housing became a concern probably when Hyundai landed. But I know that Chairman Thompson's been to several meetings where Chairman Ellis and Chatham, Kicklighter and Effingham, Infinger and Bryan have all discussed these issues. Of course, anybody with a rational thinking mind knows that 24,000, 30,000 new people aren't going to land here all at once. Hyundai's going to take a few years to ramp up, and it's really good because Hyundai and its suppliers, it's given us an opportunity to really look at some other planning initiatives that just much like James described with the comprehensive plan. But, when the discussions emerged about housing, I would say that the question was how to go about doing some kind of study where the region can figure out where it ought to go. And then came the housing market externalities, the prices, the interest rates, the supply chain with construction. So everything's been a little bass-ackwards for a couple of years. But the major economists think that the housing market's going to begin to turn around. And then hopefully if the Fed tweak down the interest rates, that'll be helpful for aspiring homeowners as well. But the thing I want to draw your attention to is that while the focus seems to be on a housing assessment, you'll notice in the proposal it was called Housing Assessment and Planning Services. Now, I've said in the past, I believe openly and publicly, I think markets are logical and they resolve themselves, even if they're micro markets versus macro markets, whether it's labor, housing, certain kinds of industries, and so forth. And in looking at this proposal, I'm less excited about the housing assessment that's proposed to be done, but the other scopes of service that include existing plan review, infrastructure assessment, but more particularly future impact model assessment, which would also include a cost of services study. I think you all recall that in a lot of our zoning cases, we use a model called FIT, Fiscal Impact Tool, but the FIT hasn't been updated in a few years, so we're beginning to become concerned that the information that comes out of it, and we all know typically a house costs a lot more to serve with public services than, say, an industry or commercial business. But nonetheless, if Georgia Tech is offering to do this future model assessment and the cost of services study, I think we're really, with the other 2 or 3 features in addition to housing, are getting a lot of value added. And if you read the proposal, the housing assessment is important into looking into future impact. They're really tied together. And I believe the information that we'll get out of this study could give us a good baseline to determine if we wanted to pursue impact fees in the future. And I won't get into the weeds with impact fees, but very briefly, I've said in the past, if that was going to be a measure that you pursued, state law requires to have an impact fee study, and subsequently you have to pick which services that you would want to assess impact fees on, set a level of service for the fee, and subsequently create an ordinance that would enact the impact fees. But I think this particular study would lessen the load on an impact fee study if you choose to go forward with it. But I really think the emphasis should be on the other planning services. The housing may be a value added, and I think it'll give us this particular study with the different scopes of service will give us another tool in our planning toolbox, because remember, and I've said this before, but it merits reminder, as far as local planning is concerned, since Hyundai's landed, you authorized the zoning moratorium, which I think gave us an excellent chance to repair and rehabilitate our zoning ordinance in particular, but also subdivision codes and stormwater, because ultimately we tried to address certain passages in the zoning ordinance that impact workforce housing and affordability. Again, you just heard about the comp plan update. You know that we're doing a transportation plan update, and we're also doing utility planning in Southeast Bulloch. But also be reminded at the regional level that there's been a workforce housing study completed. There was a Coastal Empire transportation study for the 4 counties that was completed by the Georgia Department of Transportation. Both of these, I think, were completed in 2023, I believe, early 2023. And I think this final study would be the last leg and kind of make everything whole or well-rounded, round everything out. And I think the thing it would do in particular, it would allow what I would call some spatial analysis as well as to where the housing market is going to land within the region and the likelihood of how many units and what kind of units and what price points are going to be established. And you may recall early on during the zoning moratorium process, I referred to trying to figure out where the new development is going to come is kind of like trying to follow a hurricane with those spaghetti models that you see on the Weather Channel. You know, when you're further and further out in the ocean, you know, the hurricane may hit anywhere from Miami to New York City, but as the hurricane approaches closer to the shore, that spaghetti map just begins to narrow, and when it's time for the storm to hit, you know, you're going to be pretty certain as to where it's going to land, you know, what its inland impacts are going to be and things like that. So the last thing I would ask you to consider in looking at approval of participation in this study is the cost. We are sharing the cost with the 3 other counties and the city of Savannah, who has requested specific focus for the city. They've got a lot of housing issues across the board, from low-income housing to, you know, maybe regentrifying neighborhoods or otherwise keeping housing affordable where it's just not a place where the rich live. So, and that's what this is all about, you know, is trying to establish housing for a workforce that absorbs the kind of incomes and income streams that we typically have in households in our region. But recall there's $100,000 that's being contributed by the state through DCA, and then the other 5 entities are going to split the other $100,000, $20,000 apiece. And we have sufficient funds in contingency, and I think this will address a need, not just for housing, but I think all the other value-added planning services are just as important or more as important as the housing assessment. Any thoughts or questions? Thank you.
Any questions? Can I ask for a motion?
Move to approve, Mr. Chairman, that we take a part in the joint study.
Second.
A motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Okay, we've got 6, we've got 5-1 approval. So, motion carries. Next, public comments, and this time, we have 3 people signed up, and just to remind you, you have 5 minutes, and we'll put the clock on it, and that you can come up, say whatever's on your mind, and we will listen to you. So,
Marcus Toole.
Hi, I just wanted to speak my support. I like at least kind of on behalf of Habitat for Humanity, I like the general direction of the planning map or the future land use map. That seems like it's going in the right direction. The other thing is, very much support the idea of the county doing a housing study and the studying the other planning aspects of infrastructure. We think that's very important. I will add another thing I'll add to it is that it will help any kind of entity that's trying to apply for government grants to help with housing or with infrastructure to get those grants. It would also help, the city of Statesboro did a housing study, and my understanding is they plan to update their housing study, and having a county housing study would help provide some context for that study and would even help the city and any entity that's trying to get grants in the city. So I support that idea. I also want to say it is not Habitat's role to get involved in zoning issues of specific developers, but we do want to offer three basic principles. Is one, you do want to have high density and in concentrated areas so as to reduce the overall cost of housing and to reduce the amount of overall infrastructure. I think that you have in your future plan those zoning areas where we really want to encourage high density, and I think the proposal that was passed today fits that. I would also add, we really, housing is cumulative. And wherever infrastructure will support high-density housing, we really ought to make use of it, especially where areas where the infrastructures will support it are kind of lacking. And we don't, once again, concentration is good. The last thing I will say, and this is just my personal sense. If a person whenever I hear someone say, I don't want people who can afford an 18,000 square foot house aren't really good enough to be my neighbor. What they're saying is the vast majority of people in Bulloch County are not good enough to be their neighbor. Because area median income for a family is, I don't know what the exact number is, but I think it's around $30-something thousand a year. That's not a person who can afford an 1,800 square foot house to buy it. So, we don't want to concentrate wealth, and we don't want to concentrate poverty. That is not the way to have a good, cohesive community. And so I just want to commend you. I think that today's meeting has been very good. Thank you.
Keith Howard. Keith Howard.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Keith Howard. I live in Cleto out on Kelly Road. Go roundabout here. What happened to the Bulloch County we was all raised in? Where's it at? It's gone. Ain't coming back. You people that have moved here in the last 4 years, why did you move here? Was it for lower taxes, less vehicle traffic, closer knit community, lower crime? Well, most all of that has sadly disappeared. Who is at fault? Is it the commissioners, the county manager, or the tax-paying registered voters, or a combination of it all? County manager is appointed. We, the tax-paying registered voters, have no say-so in his staying or leaving. We put that into y'all's power to determine whether or not he's doing a good job for us as a whole. What commissioners elected, we the taxpayers who are registered to vote are here to decide whether y'all stay or don't stay, whether you're doing a good job or don't good job. If you're not registered to vote, I suggest you get registered to vote. We have the ability to grade you all in your job performance if we register to vote. I'm not going to get into that. May the 21st will decide that, as all of the commissioners up for re-election have opposition and the sheriff. The voters will grade your performance. At the magistrate hearing, where Republican Commissioner Russian testified against the chairman of the Bulloch County Republican Party, Lawton Sack. In his statements, he said that there had been talk that commissioners had better wear bulletproof vests and firearms had been mentioned in some sort of threatening matter. How in the world did Bulloch County get to that point? It's a shame. Why do we have to have 2 armed deputies at this meeting now? We used not to have nobody here. Then it went to 1, now we at 2. Why do we get herded out of here like livestock when the commissioners go into executive session? In the past, the commissioners left and the audience stayed and the commissioners came back. If I'm wrong on that, correct me.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong?
That's
Thank you, sir. Why does an elected sheriff get involved in higher tax rate? That's y'all's job. That's not the sheriff. You never heard Honoré Akins, or you never heard Lynn Anderson come in here and barrel beat us about why we were gonna pay higher taxes. Y'all presented that. Why does our Republican elected sheriff get his office involved in the serving of a peace warrant against our chairman of the Bulloch County Republican Party when the magistrate court has people that do that? Why was it served at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night? Mr. Sack was certainly not a flight risk. Why did our elected sheriff, who took an oath to defend our Constitution, suggest to Mr. Sack that he not come to the committee meetings nor speak at one if he did come, blatantly violating his First Amendment right to free speech? I applaud Judge Griner for his decision in finding our Republican Chairman Lawton Sack not guilty of the accusation accused. I also quote our sheriff, elected sheriff, from his Jimmy Swaggart Hellfire and Brimstone speech from that August 23rd commissioner meeting, that I'm tired and I'm pissed. That attitude does an injustice to his employees and us, the taxpayers. I'm not neither, and I look forward to taking over as sheriff of this county and putting that office back in a proper working order in an efficient manner that the employees and citizens will be proud of. I commend Mr. Brown for all his dedication to his country and this county, and let's all give him that much needed time to spend with his family that he deserves. And finally, how about the days when the commissioners actually mingle with the audience before the meeting and afterwards? Transparency was not a foreign word. They're running for office, would put their signs on property that an individual was allowed to put and would not be retaliated against from it. So anyway, in closing, I thank all y'all for what y'all do. Y'all got a heck of a job, and I commend you for what you do. I wish everybody the best in the upcoming elections, and thank you for your time.
Jimmy Deloach.
I don't usually make notes, but I did this time, and I'm kind of glad everybody left, because what I have to say, Mr. Chairman, is directed at y'all and not to the audience. I know most of you, some better than others, and what I'm fixing to say, I feel like, is on behalf of the fair-minded people of Bulloch County, I want to apologize to y'all for the way y'all have been treated over the last 6 or 8 months. You know, my parents taught me that treat somebody the way you want to be treated. That hadn't happened at these meetings, and it shouldn't be that way. We can disagree without being disagreeable, but apparently that's not the case here. And guess what, men? I don't like it that y'all raise my taxes. I don't like it at all. I think there's other ways y'all could have gone about it. There's other things y'all could have trimmed, but you chose not to. And this is not the first time that I have been here. And as Mr. Couch can attest to, when I've been up here before, my big issue is not so much that my taxes have gone up, is everybody's not paying taxes. You know, everybody in this county has the same roads, the same sheriff protection, fire protection, Mill Creek, Splash in the Borough, the library, everything else that I have, they have, but they're not supporting it. And that's where, as Mr. Couch, I said, can attest, that's where my issue comes. And I also know that, in my opinion, y'all were elected to do the will of the people, and you obviously didn't do the will of the people when you voted on the budget that Mr. Couch had put forth. But I also know when the will of the people collide with the facts of the case have to win out. And I know that if I call the sheriff's office at 3 o'clock in the morning, that somebody's trying to break in my house in Stilson, and they tell me I'm sorry, but our last budget request was voted down. I'm not gonna care that my taxes went up. I'm gonna care that somebody's trying to break in my house. If I'm living at Neville's and my next door neighbor has a heart attack and I call EMS and they say, we're sorry, but our last budget request was voted down and we don't have anybody to send, I'm not gonna care that my taxes went up. I'm gonna care that that person's had a heart attack and nobody's there to help them. And I, along with everybody that's spoken against the tax increase, we're impacted by the short-term financial hardship that your decision has placed upon us. But you, as the commissioners, while you have to look at the short-term problems, issues, hardships y'all have placed upon us, y'all have an obligation to look long-term. You have an obligation that in order for Bulloch County to remain a great place to live, work, and raise a family, hard decisions have to be made. And those hard decisions include raising our taxes. I don't like it, I understand it, and I appreciate your willingness to serve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, that's all we had signed up to speak. We're gonna turn it over now to staff comments. Any staff have any comment?
County manager has none. I'll defer to the rest of the staff present.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Couch, Ms. Mincy White, thank you for this opportunity. I'll make it real quick. I know it's getting late. I'm Randy Tillman, Public Safety Director. This is not a paid endorsement from the previous speaker that just came up, but it is related in some of the things that he said. I have two great leaders of two of the largest agencies, I guess, in the county government here as far as financial impact. And I'm going to ask that Chief Tapley and Director Hendricks make their way up real quick. We asked them to give you a quick update as we're 3 months into the calendar year. And they're just going to give you an update about the progress of their respective areas and maybe some trends. I really don't know what they have, but they'll be available for questions also. So thank you.
Good evening. Ben Tapley, County Fire Chief. Director Tillman called me this afternoon and said, hey, let's give an update, just keep everybody in the know. So I just pulled some quick numbers. In 2023, as you know, we ran around 3,151 calls. The first 3 months of 2023, we ran 714. As you know, calls of service are coming up. First 3 months of this year, we ran 924. That's a 29% increase over last year, same time period. Still running 65 to 67% of medical calls, and those are assistant EMS. That includes our wrecks, motor vehicle wrecks, the ATV wrecks. Anytime somebody's in those situations where that we might need to send rescue to be able to cut them out or to just assess the patients, we get paged out. So we're there to assist EMS. We run about, or so far this year, we've ran 88 actual fires, and that seems like a lot, and it is a lot, especially when it is, like we said, the motorhomes, the ATVs, all the way up to the structure fires. Assisting Statesboro, we're there, structure fires as well. So we still have our automatic aid agreement with Statesboro. We do come into the city to assist them, as well as they do come outside and assist us with our structure fires. But that's a quick synopsis of where we are now. Calls are increasing. We still have our 18 staff, 6 on duty every day, full-time and part-time. We'll be en route to you every time you call. Between my full-time, part-time, and volunteers, the best professional firefighters in the land. Any questions?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, good evening. I want to thank
Chief Tapley for what he does for EMS. He helps us out a lot, as you know. We have great distances to travel. We don't have a truck in Stilton, so it takes us a little while to get down there from Brooklet, and even longer if the Brooklet truck's on the call and we have to come from Statesboro. So thankful for his team that helps us out. So the third quarter of last fiscal year, we ran 2,640 calls, which is what we're about this. We're at that same level this fiscal year in the third quarter. The biggest difference is last year, our collections were around 561,000 for that fiscal quarter, and this year our collections are over 100,000 more. So we're at 665,000 in collections this year, which is, when you can run the same amount of calls and collect $100,000 more dollars to put in the general fund, that always helps. Another big addition is due to the tax increase. We were able to hire 13 people last year. So the third quarter, last fiscal year, we were running 4 ambulances for that amount of calls. And this year, this third quarter of this fiscal year, we've almost hired out those 13 people. So we were able to do that with 6 trucks this year. We run a gauntlet of calls, as you know. Just incredibly proud of our public safety family. I think we all do a tremendous job of what we have. So, any questions from y'all?
We got one question for both of you. Since you're at the mic, what does a fully staffed, not personnel, but just a fully equipped ambulance cost today?
$400,000.
$400,000.
Yes, sir.
Same question about a fire truck.
$850,000.
$850,000. So.
What'd you tell us at the budget with what'd you tell us at the budget with how much it costs just to suit one, as far as all his gear, what he goes into a house fire with, how much it costs?
Yeah, with the air pack's $10,000 by itself. And then his pants, his gear, pants, coat, about $2,700 a piece for each of those. And then his helmet's about $400 and some odd dollars. His boots are now up to $600 a piece, or for the set, excuse me. And his hood's about $150. So roughly, what's that? About almost $21,000 or so. Yes, sir.
And I guess that question is because we get hammered most times about raising taxes. And it's not because we want to raise taxes, it's we have to. Or we're gonna watch houses burn, and we're gonna watch people die when you can't get them to the hospital. That's all I've got to say. Any questions?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support.
Any other staff? We'll switch it over to commissioner comments. Anybody have anything to say?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say to Chief Tapley, Brian, everybody, appreciate what y'all do. We know y'all run all the time. We see the progress with register and all that's coming. So just like to thank y'all for what y'all doing, Mr. Randy, and all the, and everybody. I don't want to leave nobody out. It's hard to do with as many of you there are, but
We do have the greatest staff, as our chairman always says, we have the greatest staff in the county, and y'all are behind the scenes and you do a lot and you try to make us look good. And we appreciate everything you do, and especially public safety. That's dear to my heart, and we do have the best public safety. Thank you all very much.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to echo what's already been said. I want to add to that, but I'd say it's great that we have ambulances and ambulance and portal and registered now. We couldn't say that a few years ago, and not even all our citizens know that. So it is good to be able to say that when we're talking to our citizens when they ask, what are you doing for us? So thank you.
Any others? And if not, if there's no one else has any comments, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
We have a motion, second. Discussion, all those in favor, show of hands. Unanimous approval. This meeting is